She walked into the classroom with a calm smile, but they had no idea what storm was brewing beneath it. And by the end of the week, the very kids who mocked her would be begging for her forgiveness. That's how the story begins. But before we dive deep into the unforgettable journey of Ms. Eva Thompson, the new teacher everyone laughed at, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon. Because stories like these, they leave a mark on your heart. Let's begin. It was the first Monday of September. The sun shone brightly on the worn-out bricks of Lincoln High School, a place known more for its troublemakers than its academic brilliance. Students roamed the hallways like they owned the world, loud and unfiltered, with mischief in their eyes and phones in their hands. Inside room 208, the students of 10B were at it again. Loud music played from a hidden speaker in someone's backpack. Paper airplanes zipped through the air. A boy named Jason leaned back in his chair, arms behind his head, eyes on the ceiling. Across from him, Mia, queen bee of the school, was recording a TikTok with two of her friends, smirking into the camera. She's late, Mia said, without looking up. Great start, Miss Newbie. Jason snorted. Probably got lost. Hope she doesn't cry like the last one. They laughed, loud, mocking, cruel. Because that's what they did best, break people before they had a chance to stand. The classroom door creaked open. Silence fell like a slap. In walked a woman, mid-30s, simple brown hair tied in a neat bun, plain clothes, and a stack of books clutched tightly to her chest. She wore no makeup, no jewelry, no air of authority, just calm. Good morning, she said softly, placing her books on the desk. I'm Ms. Eva Thompson, your new English teacher. For a second, no one moved. Then the laughter began. Jason coughed loudly, grandma vibes. Someone in the back muttered, she looks like she shops at the dollar store. Even Mia raised an eyebrow and whispered, she won't last 2 weeks. But Ms. Thompson, she smiled, not with mockery, not with anger, with patience. Settle down, she said. Her voice was soft, but there was a strange firmness beneath it. Take your seats. When no one moved, she didn't raise her voice. She simply walked to the board, picked up a marker, and wrote. The room shifted. Whatever, Jason muttered, kicking his chair. She thinks she's clever. That first day, they threw everything at her. Jason interrupted her every sentence. Mia rolled her eyes so much it looked like they might pop out. Someone even set a stink bomb under the desk. She didn't scold. She didn't scream. She didn't send them to the principal. She listened. She watched. And when the day ended, she erased the board and said, see you tomorrow. The next day, they came prepared to break her again. But what happened next would slowly change everything. Let's play a game, she said, smiling. Write one lie you've heard about yourself on a paper. Fold it. Drop it in this box. Curiosity tugged at even the coldest heart. Slowly, they wrote things. I'm dumb. I'm ugly. I'll never be good enough. She read each one aloud. Then she whispered, none of that is true. They didn't laugh this time. Day by day, Ms. Thompson brought something new. Not grammar. Not just poems or essays. But real lessons. About pain. About truth. About surviving. She told them stories about her past. About the loss of her sister. About being bullied when she was young. About crying alone in bathrooms and learning how to wear masks just to get through the day. And slowly, the class changed. Jason stopped making jokes. He started asking questions. Mia, for the first time, was caught listening instead of mocking. But not everyone was ready to accept her. One Friday, someone spray-painted the classroom door. The entire hallway saw it. Phones came out. Snapchats were sent. The principal rushed to cover it up. Ms. Thompson arrived, stared at the red letters, and just smiled. Whoever did this, she said calmly, you've just told me what you feel inside. I'm sorry for your pain. And that broke something. Because for the first time, the bullies had no power. Over the next few weeks, room 208 transformed. The same students who used to mock her started staying after class. Jason wrote a poem about his father's drinking problem. Mia confessed she hated herself every time she looked in the mirror. Even the shyest student, Lily, read aloud her first story. It wasn't just an English class anymore. It was therapy. It was truth. It was healing. But the biggest storm hadn't come yet. And when it did, everything Ms. Thompson had built would be put to the ultimate test. Because one day, Mia's secret video leaked online, a clip of her crying in class, opening up about her mother's abandonment. The internet exploded. Cruel comments, DMs, laughing emojis. The school turned on her. Even her friends distanced themselves. She didn't show up for class. Everyone expected Ms. Thompson to move on. Instead, she canceled her lesson, sat quietly in front of the class, and said, "This isn't Mia's shame, it's ours." And with that, she pulled out a photo of herself at 15, eyes swollen, cheeks red, makeup smeared. "This was me, the day I tried to take my life. Because someone thought my tears were funny." Gasps filled the room. "I survived," she continued. "Not because I was strong. But because one teacher told me I mattered. I became a teacher, so I could be that person for someone else." That day, something irreversible shifted. Jason got up, quietly, and said, "Let's find Mia." The entire class followed. They found her in the girls' bathroom, locked in a stall. And together, they sat outside, not saying a word. Just being there. Ms. Thompson waited outside too. Eventually, Mia opened the door. "I thought you'd all laugh," she said, eyes red. Jason shook his head. "Not anymore. That was the day the bullies broke, not Ms. Thompson, but the walls around their own hearts. And from that moment on, she wasn't the new teacher anymore. She was the teacher they'd never forget." A month had passed since the day the class found Mia crying in the girls' bathroom. Since then, something had shifted, not just inside room 208, but across the entire school. People noticed. Students who never spoke started stopping by her room, just to talk. Other teachers whispered in the staff room, some grateful, some jealous. "She's not even strict," one teacher scoffed. "She'll burn out in a year." But others knew the truth. She was doing what few dared to try, teaching from the heart. But then, came the board inspection. Every teacher feared this day. Inspectors arrived from the district unannounced, their clipboards heavy with judgments. Suits, frowns, pens scribbling in silence. They entered room 208 like it was a crime scene. Ms. Thompson smiled and welcomed them. She started the class as usual. That day's topic she didn't read from a textbook. She didn't even stand behind her desk. She handed every student a mirror and said, "Look into it. What do you see? And then write, not what others say about you, but what you believe." Jason wrote, "I'm not just a joke." Mia wrote, "I am worthy of love." Lily, once too shy to speak, stood up and read, "I don't want to disappear anymore." One inspector cleared his throat. "This isn't standard curriculum," he said, scribbling. "Where are the objectives? The rubrics?" Ms. Thompson didn't flinch. "The objective," she said, "is to make sure they remember who they are long after they forget this test." The inspectors didn't smile. They left without a word. The next day, the school principal called her in. Mr. Granger was known for his rules, his suits, and his dislike for anything unorthodox. "Ms. Thompson," he said flatly, "your methods are causing some concern." She nodded slowly. "Because the students are healing. Because you're off book. Because this is not how we measure success." She looked him in the eyes. "But isn't that the problem?" He didn't answer. But the meeting ended with a warning. "Stay in line, or there will be consequences." She walked out of his office knowing a storm was coming. That week, her classroom was, randomly, reassigned. Her upcoming class presentation was cancelled. And her access to school supplies was cut. It was war. But Ms. Thompson didn't fight it with anger. She fought it with love. Every lesson became a life message. Every student, a mission. Jason began arriving early just to help her set up. Mia started a journal club. Even the school's biggest troublemaker, Carlos, a boy who once threw a desk at a teacher, asked if she could help him write a letter to his estranged mom. She didn't just teach English. She gave them language for their pain. But then came the real test. Mid-November, a fight broke out on campus. Two boys from another class cornered Lily behind the gym, laughing at a poem she'd posted online about her depression. Jason saw it, and he snapped. He tackled one of them to the ground. Broke his nose. Within minutes, security pulled him off. He was suspended, indefinitely. Ms. Thompson tried to intervene. "I'll vouch for him," she told Mr. Granger. "He's not violent. He was protecting someone." But the board had made their decision. Jason was expelled. When she told the class, there were tears. Anger. Silence. Mia stood up and whispered, "This school doesn't care about us." And for the first time, Ms. Thompson looked tired. Not defeated, but cracked. That night, she didn't sleep. She drove to Jason's house. His mother answered the door, dark circles under her eyes, exhaustion in every line of her face. "No teacher ever came here," she said, surprised. "Not even when he failed 3 grades. Ms. Thompson stepped inside. Jason sat in the living room, arms crossed, TV on mute. "I failed you," she said simply. He looked up, confused. "What are you talking about?" "I taught you how to speak your truth," she said. "But I didn't teach you how to carry it. That's on me." Jason's voice broke. I didn't want them to break Lily." Ms. Thompson smiled, tears in her eyes. "And you didn't. You protected her. But now we need to protect you." The next day, room 208 was empty. Every single student had walked out. Not to ditch class. To protest. They stood in front of the principal's office holding signs. "Jason deserves another chance. Let teachers teach. We are not just grades." Photos went viral. Parents started calling. Former students started speaking out. Even teachers from other schools reached out in support. The district board demanded a review. By Friday, Jason was reinstated. And Mr. Granger, red-faced, cornered, was told he'd be reassigned. Ms. Thompson returned to room 208, to applause. Not because she won, but because she had never given up. She stood at the front of the class, hands trembling, voice shaking. "I'm not perfect," she said. "I'm not magic. I'm just a woman who was once broken. And I promised myself, if I ever stood in front of a classroom, I'd never let another soul feel invisible again." And they believed her. Not because she said it, but because she proved it. The rest of the year flew by. Mia got accepted into a poetry program. Lily started a mental health podcast. Jason, once labeled the loser kid, got a full scholarship to a writing college. On graduation day, Ms. Thompson sat quietly in the back. But when her name was announced, the entire class stood up and chanted her name. "Eva, Eva, Eva." And she cried. Not because she was proud, but because she knew. She had taught them more than English. She had taught them how to live. Thompson everywhere, fighting battles in silence, carrying pain behind calm smiles, and changing lives one student at a time. And if you're lucky enough to have met one, tag them, thank them, share this story. Because maybe, just maybe, they need to be reminded they're not invisible either. Would you like a thumbnail idea, description, or title card text for the video too? The year had ended, but the story wasn't over. Summer came fast in Lincoln. Students scattered. Some traveled. Others worked part-time jobs. And some, like Jason, Mia, and Lily, visited room 208 just to sit in the empty chairs and remember what they had survived. Ms. Thompson stayed behind. While the halls grew quiet, she packed up posters and books into worn-out boxes. Her contract was expiring, and with all the noise she had stirred, despite the viral protests, the public support, the community letters, she wasn't offered a renewal. No warning, no thank you, just silence. She didn't tell her students. She didn't want them to feel helpless again. But inside, she was breaking. Each box she taped shut felt like burying a piece of herself. Each memory that surfaced, Jason's trembling voice reading his first poem, Mia smiling after sharing her mother's letter, Lily hugging her at the end of class, stabbed a little deeper. She'd given everything, and now, it felt like none of it mattered. Until one day, she stood in the middle of room 208, now stripped bare, and whispered, what was the point? And then, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. She hesitated. Clicked. And what she saw made her knees weaken. It was a video. A compilation of every student who had sat in her classroom, dozens of them, holding up signs. She dropped her phone. Sat down on the floor of the empty classroom. And cried. Not because she was sad. But because she had never known just how much she mattered. Weeks passed. She moved into a small apartment on the other side of town. Took on tutoring jobs to pay rent. No classroom. No students. Just long nights, echoing silence, and a bookshelf filled with dreams. But one August morning, everything changed. Her doorbell rang. She opened it, and gasped. Jason stood there, taller, a little older, holding an envelope. Behind him stood Mia, Lily, Carlos, even some parents. "What is this?" she asked, stunned. Jason smiled. "Hope." He handed her the envelope. She opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a letter. Her eyes widened. "Is this real?" Mia grinned. "We applied for grants, made presentations. Lily built a website. Even Carlos talked to the mayor." Carlos shrugged. "I did the PowerPoint." Ms. Thompson laughed through tears. For the first time in months, she felt whole again. 6 months later, in a renovated community building down the road, a new sign was nailed above a door. Inside, the rooms weren't like regular classrooms. There were no desks in rows. No bells. No grades. Just couches, bookshelves, journals, and open space. Every wall was painted by students, murals of hope, poetry, broken chains, phoenixes rising from ashes. Quote.